Well, a travel ban to countries facing an Ebola outbreak could paradoxically make the problem worse. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention Director Tom Frieden said in a press conference yesterday, this is the same government that tells us there's no side effects from any vaccine and they're safe and effective, even though every insert of every vaccine says it can kill you or give you neurological disorders, permanent narcolepsy, Guillain-Barré. The list goes on and on. Permanent, epilepsy, autoimmune. This is the same group that says aspartame is good for you. Well, in every study, it makes you go blind, basically be brain damaged. It's the same government that told you you didn't build your business and 2 + 2 doesn't equal 4. And then Obamacare didn't have death panels, even though they admit it does now. And, of course, Obama said very unlikely Ebola would ever even get here. And now my gut tells me it's spreading. But last year, last winter, last December into January, there were deaths all over the country. Just hundreds of local news articles about mystery illnesses filling hospitals of people dying of upper respiratory illnesses and respiratory illnesses of the lungs. And I lost 3 family members in East Texas alone to it. And no one would say what it even was. And now you've got this enterovirus where a kid gets pink eye and is dead a day later. And that's directly connected in mainline science. We had PhD doctors on last week, medical doctors on last week, virologists, you name it, clearly showing that the enterovirus is linked to vaccinated children and is causing viral mutations in the intestines of children. It's unbelievable. But it doesn't matter. They're putting heat sensors in Dallas schools. This is an Infowars.com story by Mikhail Thalen. It's also on PrisonPlanet.com and on the right-hand side of DrudgeReport.com. Dallas schools to install remote temperature monitors to detect Ebola. 5 schools will be monitored until further notice. So they're getting kids used to being basically face scanned remotely with the Department of Defense funded operation. But no one goes and gets the guy's family out for a week they finally have at the apartment where everybody's just running around vomiting everywhere. They just had people not even hazmat gear cleaning up the vomit. That's where the Ebola can live, ladies and gentlemen, is in fecal matter or vomit for days inside structures. And WFAA TV reports it. Nobody cares. Oh, but Homeland Security, they care so much. They're fighting so hard to keep you safe. Do you know why the head of the CDC came out and said we can't shut the border? It's because under the North American Union Treaty signed by George Herbert Walker Bush's son, George W. Bush, in Baylor, Texas in 2005 with Vicente Fox and Paul Martin of Canada, there is no border. They've been issuing a hemisphere ID card since 2006. It's already gone. If you look at the head of the National Security Council and senators and others, they're always giving speeches saying, we're in a North American Union now. And guess what? Congress doesn't make the laws in that. You don't make the laws. Your states don't. A bunch of offshore megabanks do. And they'll run the response to Ebola once it breaks out and make hundreds of billions of dollars. And they'll know when the plague's going to run its course. Or maybe this is just a beta test. And so they'll know how to invest to profit from it. They have all the actuaries, all the computer programs, all of the data. That's why they love crises, why they create them, why they foster them, why they allow them to happen, why they don't let a good crisis go to waste, because they get power out of it, because common sense is dead. We're going to let the kids who are in there with dad vomiting everywhere go to school. We're going to leave them in the apartment for a week. We're not going to clean up the ambulance. We're not going to check the flight manifests and go check everybody that was on those planes. We're not going to shut down the planes coming into the U.S., even though everybody else is doing it, including African countries. No. We're going to leave everything wide open And if you dare criticize it, Geraldo Rivera will come out and say he's ashamed of Matt Drudge for reporting on Ebola being able to come across the border. Now the CDC admits it could, but says there's nothing they could do anyways. So see, in this new world, you're in trouble when you're right, not when you're wrong. You say 2 + 2 = 5, they say, jolly good, step up, you're part of the cult. This is a cult mentality in government and media now, where they've got everyone chanting 2 + 2 = 5, literally. With a rudderless, empty-minded public, grown up watching television their entire lives, having no idea what the real world's really like, a nation of spectators run by a group of kleptocrats robbing and stealing everything. But here's the news. The whole legal system, the whole political system, the writings on the wall, this is the Department of Defense, British Ministry of Defense reports, it's all going to collapse on purpose. So let me tell you something. All of you that have served this process of the takeover, all of you that have served this leg of the consolidation, you're all going to be flushed down the toilet in the next phase of the New World Order, global government, transhumanist, eugenicist, singularity, power trip movement that governs the planet. While you watch NFL football and while you ride your Harley Davidson, I'm not blaming you men for wanting to do that, I'm sure it's fun, while you smoke your cigarettes, while you go to the bar, while you watch your favorite TV show, while you apply makeup to your face, we live in an engineered society where the food, the water, everything's manipulated on record, the GMO, and now our government is openly letting people with Ebola in, leaving the flights in, bringing the patients in, so they have plausible deniability when they release a string of garbage, which our government's been caught doing secret testing, lethal testing thousands of times before. Why wouldn't you think they do it now? It's not our government. It is a scientific group of eugenicists who all publish books bragging about what they've done. So you have to understand, that's what's frustrating here. I'm going off what they say they would do and what they've done. And here's what's scary. They're about 5, 10 years, depending on which project, behind what they said they do in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. But they've done everything they said they'd do. They have rolled out everything they said they would. They have done everything according to plan. Okay? Let's go to the CDC director saying we can't control the border. Yeah, because there is no border.
We know that as long as the outbreak smolders in Africa, as long as it's in Africa, we're potentially at risk, because even if we tried to close the border, it wouldn't work. People have a right to return. People transiting through could come in, and it would backfire, because by isolating these countries, it'll make it harder to help them, it'll spread more there, and we'd be more likely to be exposed here.
But he had a nice, calm NPR voice. Very convincing, loving little eyes, with his hair all combed. Kids, by the way, take your shots. We here at the New World Order love you, and all we want is for you to get healthy. That's why the cancer rates and everything else are off the charts. So just take your shots. Get rid of those brain cells. Mercury's good for you. The CDC said so, remember? In the past decade, we have witnessed unparalleled scientific discoveries in the area of health. But no one has put together a formula that focuses directly on brain health, nerve growth factors, and optimizing your cellular energy at the same time. DNA Force is one of the most expensive formulas to produce. Some of the ingredients in DNA Force are $12,000 a kilogram. We are using the coveted, patented, only American source of PQQ, CoQ10, and more. You want the best that's out there at the lowest price anywhere? Well, we're bringing you a total win-win. The ultimate value, cutting-edge, trailblazing game changer that also supports the InfoWar. We have produced a limited run of DNA Force, and it will take up to 12 weeks to produce more once we sell out. Secure your DNA Force today at InfoWarsLife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139. DNA Force from InfoWars Life. Folks with Ebola by the hundreds of thousands in Africa now, jumping on aircraft as well. But they can't go to France, they can't go to Germany, they can't go to England, they can't go to the United Arab Emirates, they can't go a whole bunch of places, but you know where they can come? They can come right here to America because, well, up is down and down is up. The toll-free number to join us on the Sunday transmission is 877-789-2539. 877-789-ALEX. That's 877-789-2539. And again, later on in the next hour, I'll open the phones up for a general discussion of other issues. I have a lot of other news I want to get to. But we're talking about Ebola. So just if you call in and it's something else, just get ready to get hung up on. It's just the way it is. Because we don't screen your calls, so it's always a free-for-all. But we're on this topic. I'd love to hear from you. And one of the topics I will get to in the next hour, Army chiefs tell government stop Gulf states funding terrorism. Pressure is mounting on government to take action against wealthy Gulf states accused of funding Islamic terrorism after the beheading of Alan Henning, a British aid worker kidnapped in Syria. I had Colonel Schaefer on about a month ago who briefed the Armed Services Committee in closed session, and he said that the Pentagon told him the same thing. Our allies are arming ISIS, which is known as ISIS or IS or ISIL. It's really Al-Qaeda. And we're arming them as well. It needs to stop. 2 weeks ago, General Dempsey, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, came out and in testimony said, no, our allies are arming these people, and they're horrible. So, see, we've entered kind of a bizarro world, fantastical land where there was always lying and corruption in government. But I've studied history, and I've lived 20 years on air and 20-plus years politically active. I've never seen anything like it where they go, if we shut the border, Ebola will get in. If we don't let flights fly in from Liberia or Sierra Leone, Ebola will get in. If we don't jump off the cliff, we might break our legs. You know, pregnant women need to take double the flu shots. Until 5 years ago, all the inserts said never take it if you're pregnant. It'll kill your baby or brain damage them. It's well known. So they just went, you know what? You need extra shots. It's all about over-the-top weirdness. Actual death panels in Obamacare, now admitted. Actual death panels at the VA to not give people treatment. It's just Twilight Zone, and they got away with it. Why not? Why not clean up the vomit for 4 or 5 days or a week, or let the ambulance that carried the Ebola patient drive around for 6 days before you clean it up? Why not just let flights come in? Why not? I mean, why should we expect Rick Perry to tell Obama to shut down the flights? It's an absolute default, no-brainer, absolute reality to do that. They've never allowed Ebola patients in. They've never allowed people in from countries where something like this is happening. This is unprecedented, ladies and gentlemen. And it's because they want to use a crisis. That's what I want to hear from the callers on. The globalists want to basically use this crisis to bring in a medical tyranny, a forced inoculation program with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Monsanto created Ebola vaccine they're set to roll out. I guarantee you that's why, bare minimum, they've turned off the default. It's like not closing a hatch on a submarine when you submerge. It's a no-brainer. Or not pressurizing a jumbo jet, a 777, before you take off from Houston International to fly to London, England. They're turning off all the defaults because the public, I guess they think, is absolutely brain dead. I mean, is America done? How much more crazy does the system have to get? I marveled in the last 4 years as our government openly funded Al-Qaeda and turned them loose to kill every Christian they could find, a non-radical Muslim in the Middle East, as a destabilization program. Then our military about a year and a half ago started speaking up and saying no, and a lot of it stopped, and now they're back again in England and the U.S. saying we shouldn't be part of this. Our military is doing that. They've never started going public saying we shouldn't be doing this. They've always followed orders, and that shows you how crazy the elite is. Military knows what all the flags and communications are. They know they were ordered to arm these guys 4 years ago, 2 years ago, a year ago. So there's some good news here at the same time. But that's what I mean. It's so wild, so Twilight Zone. Now, where they have the head of the CDC straight-faced saying, we've got to let flights fly in and out of these African countries that the presidents of these countries admit they basically collapsed. And so anybody with money, even poor people that have saved it, are begging to get on planes, and other countries won't take them, so they come here. So America is now like the place to run across the Atlantic Ocean, the 9-hour flight from West Africa into New York City, what a 10 or 11-hour flight into Dallas, 9-hour flight into Miami, 9-hour flight into Atlanta. And they're not even, they don't have the heat sensors at the airport. They don't have the, no, they're putting them in the school. We're going to let the kids that may have Ebola be at the school. We're going to have heat sensors. And then, as if that joke isn't bizarre enough, and this is a psychological tactic called gaslighting, but it's more sophisticated, where they just scramble everything where no one even knows what's going on. It's so over the top. How the NRA is making the Ebola crisis worse by Crystal Ball and Ann Thompson. And they go on to say the NRA is the problem, that Americans own guns, and don't even give a reason. It's bizarre. It's like Obamacare will cut your bill in half, even though it doubles it. And it'll raise payroll taxes on poor people. I tell people I know is, and stuff that's on record, like, hey, over 2,000 corporations got total Obamacare waivers. So McDonald's doesn't have to get it for their employees, but a mom and pop does, which then makes their hamburgers more expensive, so they go bankrupt. And people look at me, they've known me for years, and they go, that can't be true. That's discrimination. Well, while they're busy banning people dressing up in Halloween like any character that might hurt someone's feelings, Pancho Villa can't do it. Cowboy can't do it. Who said we couldn't do it? They can literally come out and demonize the Second Amendment and just put an article out. Gun owners did it. When Ebola comes, it's gun owners with no evidence, with no thought, with no even reason. It's like when MSNBC, and I've played this clip probably 20 times, I'm not going to play it again, said the Boston bombers were influenced by Alex Jones, and Alex Jones is deeply racist. What did the Boston bombing have to do with deep racism or me? And they showed no proof. Just like now they say the NRA is to blame for the Ebola, and then don't even explain why. It's just, you're just to blame. I said so. That's the level of craziness that's taking place here. And Governor Bobby Jindal has come out and said ban travel from Ebola nations. That's a default. We should not be accepting flights from countries that are Ebola-stricken. The Republican governor said in a statement, President Obama said it was unlikely that Ebola will reach the U.S. Well, it has, and we need to protect our people, he said. But the Obama administration keeps saying they won't shut down flights. They instead say we should just listen to the experts. In fact, they said it would be counterproductive to stop these flights. These statements defy logic. That's key. Defy logic. Hey, you should shut the hatch on the submarine before you submerge. No, I'm not going to. You will drown. Shut up, racist. It's racist to close this hatch. You're like, how is it racist to close the hatch? Just, it's racist, okay? Said it was. Okay? And again, I expected Rick Perry to do this. I've been calling since Wednesday for Rick Perry to call for this. Nothing. That's the thing about Rick Perry, man. His advisors are hooked into the globalists. And it makes me want to throw up. Rick Perry, do you hear me? You would gain great political points. Get in Obama's face.
Now you can watch The Alex Jones Show live as it happens at Infowars.com/show.
You'll find links to all of our content there and a free 15-day trial for Prison Planet TV.
More than 60 movies and documentaries all in one place at Infowars.com/show.